I can only imagine how intimate the filming process was, as it was mostly just the two of you. And I read that your wonderful director, Alex, encouraged dramatic improvisation. So I would love to know, was there something unexpected that you both discovered about your characters through the other's work?
I think every day that we were working, we did a lot of prep work leading up to the film, which was so key and crucial to developing these characters and understanding what our kind of playground was going to be like. And I think Thomas also too he's a beautiful actor in so many ways and is so funny. And so there would be so many times where we'd be in the middle of a scene and he'd say something and I'd just be dying. And then if I was quick enough, I could respond to his clever wit. But yeah, every day and every scene that we shot together, I think there was something surprising for me. And that was because Alex is so wonderful and so supportive of that improvisation that we had prepped for. And it was just, that to me was very freeing to know that the ball was always going to be thrown and you didn't know where or how.
That's where the magic happens. And that's what you saw, that energy between the two of you. It felt so natural and it was just so beautiful to watch.
Thank you.
Well, you know, for me, we had so many conversations, and which was, you know, with anybody that you don't know, and I did know Alex and I did not know Dianna, but it was you know, these myriad conversations that we had, you know, they were these portals into not just Dianna's imagination, but her life experience, and the same with Alex, and I'm assuming the same for them with me, that we were able to begin the father-daughter relationship really months before we got there and we started shooting. And so whenever, with Dianna, whenever we got there and then I started interacting with her, you know, what present and you know, not so much physically, but whatever, just being in the same physical space, I quickly developed a sense of, okay, this is who my daughter could be. You know, if I'm at this point in my life and my daughter is at this point of her life, that Maggie Maggie was Dianna and Dianna was Maggie. And so that was it. At times it was awkward, it was uncomfortable, it was tragic, you know, her empowerment sometimes led to, or her independence led to being antagonistic, or even, you know, that Lloyd would react angrily to some intrusion or some perceived imposition that really was only in his mind or in his reality. And that I quickly realized with she and I that was the way that it had to be. That it was getting to know who Maggie and Lloyd were. It was reflective of Dianna and I getting to know each other. But again, the significant third presence in the film, it's Migo, but you know, but it's Alex. Alex is really the third character in the film, and for Diana's aforementioned reason, Alex invited, and it was such a launching from our conversations of, this is yours, this is ours, but this is yours. Lloyd is yours, Thomas, you know, Maggie is yours, Dianna, but the relationship was ours. And as much as he was going to be there to sort of I started to say steer, but I don't even really know if that's the right word. It was just to kind of maybe corral, you know what, because it was such a dynamo. It was such, you know, there were moments between Dianna and I that it's like we were ginning up so much energy and figuring out, okay, how does this play in this emotionally, in this scene, in this moment, in this sequence. But it was like, but Dianna and I would get into these, you know, these emotional verbal entanglements. And sometimes I honestly, I didn't know where it was going to go. I had no idea where it was going to go. But that's the beauty of improvisation.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dianna would agree with that, but that's the beauty, that it's like, oh shit, where is this going?
Yeah.
And there were quite a lot of those moments where I had no idea where we were going to go emotionally.
Yeah.
And Alex was just there to capture it.
Yeah. And he was so good about being able, you know, because when you're in it, you don't, I mean, you know how you feel in the moment. But he was so good at being the observer to then reflect back and say, like, that when you said that thing, try to do that again in the next. Try to, you know, because we were such a unit through the whole experience. And so he's so key and crucial to do a project like this with, because he understands it, and he understands human emotion so beautifully. And this story was personal to the three of us and, you know, we had to honor those personal truths and what we had explored. And I'm really proud of what came of that.
Oh, as you should be. And I think it's so funny hearing you both speak. I'm thinking about all of these scenes in my mind throughout the film. And it sounds like while y'all were navigating each other and learning about each other, it's like, so were Lloyd and Maggie. It was extremely reflective of the story. And I think that's what created this beautiful rawness and this a lot of space and breath. And then, Thomas choosing when to be reactive and not, because I think Lloyd he's got so much going on, and just what a beautiful marriage of that. I just loved it so much.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I'm sure it's like an actor's dream too, to work on a project like this where you just go for it and you're just present. And then to work in an environment as you did in Oregon, which is also, I feel like, a character in itself.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it was so, there were wild film gifts that were happening to us while shooting. I remember that very first scene which was pretty early on in our filming process. There was that moment where we were on the bluff where you're really explaining to me what your passion is and how this communication is going. And we were filming, and it was, we were filming kind of dusk for dawn, which is an interesting thing. Sometimes when you're filming that is what's happening. And it was very cold and it was very windy. And in this first moment that Lloyd is explaining to Maggie, I am communicating with extraterrestrial life. Like this is my belief system, and it is here. We saw this cluster in the sky that was Starlink, but it very much had this feeling of, oh yeah, Close Encounters right there. Here's what you're talking about. What is that strangeness in the distance? And the whole crew, we all were gripping each other. It's so wild.
Well, because we had no idea what it was.
No.
We had no idea what it was. We just saw something that was clearly in deep space, but it was organized and it was moving. And everybody was just, I was in such complete awe that there might actually be an ETI that was moving through the night, right in front of all of us. And, and John and what was the other camera guy's name, Dianna? Was it Steve?
Yeah.
Was it John and Steve?
Yeah.
They couldn't get
Everybody
the cameras,
their minds.
and they were trying to figure out, what their what their focal length and what their focus length was, and trying to capture that. And I think we kind of did.
Well, that was the other crazy thing. There was a secondary moment much later in the shoot, and that had been a particularly rough shooting day, just weather and scheduling and everything. And there's this moment in the script, in the film, where Alex very intentionally wants me to kind of be out on the front porch and thinking about all of these truths and wondering where her belief lies. And he said, and I'm going to in post insert that cluster like formation that we found that day. That's what I'm going to do. So just think about what you saw then there. And this is the last shots of the day, and we go, and I'm walking on the porch, and we're framing up, and suddenly that formation is in the frame, and everyone is losing their minds. Like, sure, it's not soft. Focus on this, that, don't move. Oh my God, this, that. It was wild. And when those things happen to you while filming, you just have to think like, thank you, everybody on side. Thank you for this. This is a gift.
Yes, I love that.
Really wild.
Wow, yeah. Very cool. Speaking of truths, I know we have to wrap soon. I could talk about this film forever. Gotta rein it in. But speaking of truths, there's a great quote in the film that Lloyd often said to Maggie as a child: the truth is more important than the facts. So I would love to know, what does the truth mean to both your characters, and what role does it play in their lives and then in their relationship?
Go deep. I think for him, I think for Lloyd, he doesn't know what the truth is until she's there. And it's something that he kind of ran away from and stayed away from for 10 years. But I think that by the end of the film, and it's why it is so emotional for me, is that there is no, as much as he, with the ETI and with his music and with, there is a bit of a factual organization to his existence that I think he's a little oblivious to. But whenever he says the truth is more important than the facts, and that this is like a mantra that he lives by, that the truth is what you're emotionally responsible for, who you're emotionally responsible to, and what you're responsible for. And when Maggie presents herself, and then they take this week-long journey together, that is his sort of neo realization, is that she is his truth and she is his legacy. And the end of the movie, it's sad, but it's hopeful that they will continue, that they will have this shared truth going forward.
Yeah. And that's what I was looking for and hopeful for, that what we were going to be finding between our characters was exactly that. It was, and the fact that there is intense questioning within the journey of our characters. When this happened, what did you mean? What did it mean when this? Was there anything that could have been different? But their connection is the most important thing. And so those facts, when it's not clear, but you're left with the fact that there has been a reestablished connection that is so beautiful and meaningful and is going to move them to a new place. That's exactly that. That's the most important thing.